How do you deal with harsh, honky, nasal vocals? Let's dive straight in. So where are we going to find that honky, harsh nasalness in the vocal? Well, the easiest thing is to pull up a vocal EQ cheat sheet if you don't know, and that's going to give you a bit more information. And around 1 to 4K, we're going to find that honky nasalness. And then moving on to around 5 to 8 kilohertz, we're also going to find sizzliness, crispness, presence, and sibilance. So we're looking around this area, but we're going to start off concentrating on that 1 to 4 kilohertz area. Look, this vocal cheat sheet's super handy. If you want to grab it right now, you can get it for free. Just follow the link below this video. So just before we dive in with the EQs, I want to show you the before and after of this vocal. So this is how it came to me.
Yeah, man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate?
So just quite aggressive in those upper mids. And this is where I got to after the processing.
Yeah, man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together.
So let's dive in and take a look at the moves which I made. And towards the end of this video, I also want to focus in on a certain plugin as well, which I found really super handy, which I hadn't used before. So first up, I reached for a good old stock EQ. This is Pro EQ 2, which you'll find within Studio One. You'll see I've made 3 cuts, 2 pretty tight cues, and this one a little bit broader. Now I already know that I've got a harsh sound to my vocals, and thanks to that vocal EQ cheat sheet, you can check around the frequency band and simply perform a boost sweep around that area to find where it's really aggressive to your ears. When you find that spot, then you can make a cut and then tighten your cue to taste. Like I said, I found 3 spots here in this vocal which was really causing my ears some discomfort. So let's take a listen to the before and after so you can hear what we're taking away. So this is before Pro EQ 2.
Right, mate. Yeah, man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together.
And particularly if you're listening on headphones or some decent monitors, you should be able to hear that it just eases off your ears a little bit. You know, that area in the upper mids, us humans are so sensitive to. It's where the human voice really has its attack. So we're super tuned to that particular area on the frequency band. So if anything's really spiking out there, it's pretty painful. So once more, without that EQ.
You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm floating.
Particularly on that yeah, man.
Yeah, man, I'm floating.
And with EQ.
Yeah, man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together.
So it's easing it off a bit. Now here's what happened next. I stacked another EQ after the stock EQ for really no particular reason. Sometimes that's just the way I like to work. I like to have another fresh canvas and work with another EQ and stack them. And you can see I've made some really pretty broad cuts this time. I'm getting pretty heavy-handed with that harshness. It's around 3K. And I've also done a cut here for a bit of boxiness around 400. Take a listen to those 2 EQs on and off.
You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together.
Next up, I brought in my trusty channel strip. And first thing I'm going to do is drive some of the saturation through this Neve style channel strip. That's going to help us to bring some warmth and a little bit of compression to the vocal. If your vocals are harsh, saturation's going to really help to smooth it out and bring out a bit of warmth too. Now, typically, if I was on autopilot, I'd be bringing in some boosts for some air around 10 or 15K and also around 6.8 or 5.6 on this Neve notched EQ, but it's going to be pretty counterintuitive to some of the moves I've already made, so I've not really done too much, otherwise my vocals are just going to start getting harsh again. So just like a little 1 dB boost at 10K, half a dB here, just to bring out a touch of the clarity, just sculpting the vocal a little bit, and a bit more of a cut here, 1.5 dB, 560. I've also used the high pass filter as well. Let's take a listen to that on and off.
Mate, yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together.
So it's brought it forward more. We've got more clarity, but now we're losing the war against the harshness again. So next up, I'm going to bring in Decapitator, an excellent plugin, which is going to bring in some saturation again to our vocal, which is in turn also going to give us a bit of compression too. The nice thing about Decapitator is this tone control in the middle where you can play from dark to bright, and that's going to really help us to sculpt the tone a little bit more of the vocals. So let's just take a listen to that on and off. So let's start with it on.
Mate, yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together.
So we're getting somewhere now. Obviously when I'm mixing this, I'm working within the mix, so I'm really careful to make sure that I've got that clarity of that vocal coming through, because if I carry on cutting and cutting and cutting with those harsh frequencies, I may well end up with a more sort of boomy sounding vocal, which isn't going to come forward in the mix. That's where this really helps, because I've got that clarity, but I'm also now dialing in some of that saturation, which is just helping to smooth out some of those aggressive areas of the harshness. So next up, I'm bringing in 1176, which is going to do some compression.
You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather.
And the 1176 is working as a fast compressor. I've got the ratio at 20:1. Fast attack and fast release, and it's diving in on those harsh areas. There's going to be another compressor in a minute. I typically like to stack compressors, a bit like with EQs. But after both of my compressors that I've used, I've also dropped in de-essers, because what you can find is then when you bring in the compressor and it brings everything forward, you're also getting a little bit more sibilance. So here's the first de-esser.
Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together.
So let's take a listen to where we've got to so far. So without the plugins.
You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate?
And with?
Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate?
Next up, I brought in Core EQ just to help sculpt a little bit. So the third EQ that I've used, and now I like using this EQ completely differently to using the more graphic linear EQ, because it really forces you to use your ears. This one from Kit Plugins. So I've got two further cuts up in the upper mids, and a little cut here as well. So a cut at 4K, cut at 2.5K. 4 dB here off, and 4 dB here and 4.5 dB here. Take a listen to the difference.
Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together.
Much smoother. So I'm kind of sculpting as I go, as I bring in the saturation, as I bring in the compression. I'm finding that I'm going to have to adjust the EQ as I work down the chain. That's the way I like to work.
You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather.
Core EQ off.
You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate?
Starting to sound pretty smooth now. Next up, an LA2A. It's going to fatten our vocal out a little bit, smooth our vocal out. Bring a nice tone.
Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate?
Does really good things to this vocal. Great on a harsh vocal.
Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate?
Smoothed it out so much.
Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather.
So after the LA2A, I'm bringing in another de-esser, this one from Analog Obsession, just readdressing the essiness. Take a listen to that one.
Mate, yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together.
So on that two, the T of the together.
Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate?
Right.
Yeah man, I'm holding it together.
That's where it's doing its job. And then finally it brings me up to this plugin which I wanted to talk about. So this is called Manny Marroquin. It's from Waves. Because what I did at that point was walk away from the mix. In fact, let's just take a listen to what I did. I'm just going to bring on Echo Boy Jr., which is at the bottom of the chain as well. So this is what I did before I took a break and came back to it on another day. So I just had a little bit of delay on there as well. Let me show you what that sounds like.
Mate, yeah man, I'm holding it together.
So you have a listen to that within the mix.
Mate, yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather.
But when I came back to it on a new day, I was sort of like, you know, these vocals still sound a little bit harsh to me. So once again, this is why I brought in, let me isolate the vocal again, this Manny Marroquin 3 knob plugin from Waves. And this is a great plugin. Look, if you're unsure at all about mixing vocals, it's a great plugin because it's going to look at the 3 key pillar areas here: boxiness, harshness, and your S's, your sibilants. So for that reason alone, if you're unsure of mixing vocals, this not only is going to help you. You don't have to know any specific frequencies. You can just dive straight in with this plugin. But also it's going to teach you and help you to train your ears and understand what you're listening for. But also you can use it if you're more experienced in mixing, as I did, as a kind of sweetener and a finisher. So I've come back the next day and I just want something different. And that's where this was super handy. So this is something I really like about this plugin, is you can isolate these 3 bands. I also like that I'm just not looking at numbers and frequencies or an EQ chart. I've got enough of that going on. I just want something that's going to help me. So take a listen to this. So first off, you can isolate each band. So this is the de-esser.
Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather.
And then the harshness.
Are you right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together. You right.
And you can play around with these to frequency sweep. And you can do the same thing with the deboxy knob too.
Mate? Yeah, man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah, man, I'm floating like a feather.
So I think a really cool plugin, and just what I was looking for when I was coming in on a fresh day. So let me just let you hear what it sounds like without Manny Marroquin.
Mate, yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together.
And in the mix.
You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm holding it together. You right, mate? Yeah man, I'm floating like a feather.
So that's my vocal chain when I've had to work with a particularly harsh sounding vocal, and also taking a look at Manny Marroquin, this really clever little 3-band EQ. If you enjoyed this video today, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've got some tips about dealing with harsh vocals, let me know them in the comments box below. It's always great to hear from you. Of course, don't forget whilst you're there to grab your free EQ cheat sheet. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you check this next one out.